More than 100 Chinese naval and Coast Guard vessels are now being tracked across the waters surrounding the so-called First Island chain, the strategic stretch of territory running from Japan through Taiwan and down toward the Philippines. The large-scale deployment has triggered fresh concern across the Indo-Pacific region, with Taiwan warning that the growing military presence is creating pressure on regional stability and increasing the risk of confrontation in already sensitive waters. Officials in Taipei say the activity includes warships, Coast Guard vessels, support ships, and aircraft operating simultaneously near Taiwan and surrounding maritime zones. Taiwanese defense authorities describe the movement as one of the most extensive recent deployments in the area, saying the scale of the operation demonstrates Beijing's growing ability to project power far beyond its mainland coastline. Taiwan's defense ministry reported that multiple Chinese naval groups were identified, moving through key sea lanes surrounding the island. Surveillance systems, patrol aircraft, and naval monitoring units were activated as authorities tracked the movements in real time. According to officials, some of the vessels operated close to Taiwan's eastern waters, an area traditionally viewed as strategically important because it opens directly into the wider Pacific Ocean. Taiwanese officials warned that the buildup could increase pressure not only on Taiwan itself, but also on neighboring countries that rely heavily on open sea routes for trade and energy supplies. Authorities in Taipei stated that the concentration of ships threatens regional security and stability, while emphasizing that Taiwan's armed forces remain on alert and prepared to respond to developments. The First Island chain has long been one of the most sensitive strategic areas in Asia. The chain stretches from Japan's southern islands through Taiwan and the Philippines. Military analysts often describe it as a natural defensive barrier limiting direct access from the Chinese mainland into the Pacific Ocean. Because of this geography, any major naval movement through the region quickly attracts international attention. The latest deployment comes during a period of already heightened tensions across the Indo-Pacific. In recent months, military drills, patrols, and competing territorial claims have increased in frequency around Taiwan, the South China Sea, and the East China Sea. Several governments in the region have expressed concern that the growing number of military operations raises the possibility of miscalculation or unintended incidents at sea. Chinese officials have repeatedly defended their naval activities as lawful operations conducted within what Beijing considers its sovereign territory and surrounding waters. China views Taiwan as part of its territory, while Taiwan maintains its own government, military, and democratic political system. Beijing has also argued that increase. Naval patrols are necessary to protect national interests and maritime security. At the same time, regional governments have closely monitored China's expanding military reach. Japan has increased surveillance around its southwestern islands, while the Philippines has strengthened maritime patrol coordination with allies. The United States has also maintained a strong naval presence across the Pacific, conducting freedom of navigation operations and joint exercises with partner countries. Taiwanese military officials say the current deployment appears designed to test coordination capabilities across multiple branches of China's military and maritime agencies. Analysts believe the operation may also serve as a signal of Beijing's ability to sustain large-scale activity across several strategic zones at once. Satellite imagery and maritime tracking data reviewed by regional observers indicate that Chinese vessels have been operating in several clusters across the chain. Some ships reportedly moved near Taiwan's northern approaches, while others were seen further south toward waters close to the Philippines. Additional activity was also detected near Japanese maritime zones. Security experts say the deployment demonstrates how naval strategy in Asia is rapidly changing. Rather than relying only on isolated patrols, larger coordinated formations are becoming more common. This allows naval forces to operate simultaneously in several locations while maintaining communication and logistical support over long distances. Taiwan has responded by increasing surveillance flights and maritime monitoring patrols. Officials said aircraft and naval units were dispatched to observe vessel movements while air defense systems remained active throughout the operation. Authorities stress that Taiwan does not seek escalation, but will continue monitoring all developments carefully. One Taiwanese defense official stated that the situation requires close attention and calm management. Because of the number of vessels involved and the proximity of operations to sensitive maritime routes, the official added that Taiwan remains committed to maintaining regional peace and preventing unnecessary confrontation. The deployment has also drawn international reactions. Japanese defense authorities confirmed that Chinese naval movements near parts of the island chain were being monitored closely. Tokyo has previously expressed concern about increasing Chinese military activity near Okinawa and nearby sea lanes used by both commercial and military vessels. In the Philippines, maritime authorities have continued patrols in disputed waters while reaffirming the country's commitment to protecting its maritime rights. Philippine officials have repeatedly stated that freedom of navigation and respect for international maritime law remain essential for regional stability. Across Southeast Asia, governments are watching developments carefully because many of the world's busiest ships injure its path directly through these waters. A large percentage of global trade and energy supplies moves through the region every year, making stability in the Indo-Pacific economically important far beyond Asia itself. Military analysts say the operation also reflects broader competition between China and the United States for influence across the Pacific. Washington has strengthened defense cooperation with allies including Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia. Joint military exercises have increased significantly over the past several years, especially around maritime security and disaster response scenarios. Beijing, meanwhile, has continued modernizing its navy at a rapid pace. China now operates one of the world's largest naval forces by vessel numbers, including advanced destroyers, amphibious ships, aircraft carriers, and long-range missile systems. Chinese officials argue these capabilities are necessary to protect national sovereignty and overseas economic interests. Taiwan's government says the increasing pace of military operations near the island has become a major security challenge. Officials say almost daily air and maritime activities now require constant monitoring by defense forces. While many operations stop short of direct confrontation, authorities warn that repeated pressure can gradually increase instability. Despite the tensions, Taiwanese leaders continue calling for dialogue and restraint. Officials in Taipei have stated that peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait remain in the interest of all regional economies and populations. They have also urged the international community to support open communication channels to reduce risks. Regional experts note that military operations around Taiwan often carry symbolic as well as strategic importance. Large deployments can send political messages, demonstrate readiness, and test responses from neighboring countries. At the same time, analysts warn that heavy military traffic sea in narrow waterways creates additional operational risks. Several international observers have pointed out that the Indo-Pacific has entered a period of long-term strategic competition in which military presence, economic influence, and diplomatic partnerships are becoming increasingly interconnected. Maritime operations are now viewed not only as security actions, but also as signals of political intent. Taiwanese citizens have become increasingly accustomed to military activity in surrounding waters and airspace. However, surveys and public commentary suggest many people remain concerned about the possibility of rising regional tensions affecting economic stability and daily life. Taiwan plays a critical role in global technology supply chains, especially in semiconductor manufacturing, making stability around the island important to the global economy. Meanwhile, analysts believe China's activities near the first island chain are likely to continue in various forms over the coming years. Naval patrols, joint exercises, surveillance missions, and maritime law enforcement operations have all become more frequent as Beijing expands its presence further into the Pacific. Experts also note that technological developments are changing how these operations are conducted. Modern surveillance systems, drones, satellite monitoring, and long-range communication tools allow governments to track ship movements in near real time. This has increased transparency in some situations while also intensifying strategic competition. Taiwan's military leadership says coordination with regional partners remains important for maintaining situational awareness. While Taiwan is not formally part of many international defense organizations, it continues exchanging security-related information with friendly governments. At the diplomatic level, officials across the region are emphasizing the importance of avoiding escalation. Governments have repeatedly urged all parties to act with restraint and maintain open lines of communication. International observers warn that even a minor incident involving naval or air units could quickly become politically sensitive if not managed carefully. Chinese state media has presented the recent operations as routine and defensive in nature. Commentaries have emphasized China's right to operate within nearby maritime zones and criticized what Beijing describes as outside interference in regional affairs. Chinese officials have also accused foreign powers of increasing tensions by expanding military partnerships and patrols near China's coastline. At the same time, U.S. officials continue describing peace and stability in the Taiwan Strait as a global priority. Washington maintains unofficial relations with Taiwan while recognizing Beijing diplomatically under the long-standing One China policy framework. American officials have repeatedly stressed the importance of resolving differences peacefully. The latest deployment highlights how so. Strategic competition in Asia is increasingly centered on maritime geography. Control of sea routes, access to the Pacific, and the movement of naval forces through narrow waterways are now among the defining security issues shaping the region. For Taiwan, the operation represents another reminder of the pressure created by sustained military activity nearby. For neighboring countries, it reinforces concerns about how quickly regional tensions could affect trade routes and broader economic stability. And for global powers watching from outside the region, it underscores the growing importance of the Indo-Pacific in international security planning. Even as military operations continue, diplomatic efforts are also ongoing behind the scenes. Regional governments remain engaged in security dialogues, defense coordination meetings, and economic discussions aimed at reducing misunderstandings. Analysts say maintaining communication will be essential as naval activity in the region continues. Expanding, the coming months are likely to bring continued monitoring of vessel movements around the First Island chain. Defense officials across Asia are expected to maintain heightened surveillance while governments assess how the strategic balance in the Pacific continues evolving. For now, Taiwan says its forces remain fully prepared. Regional governments remain alert, and international observers continue watching closely as one of the world's most strategically important maritime regions experiences another period of intense military activity.